Alright everyone, we start off today talking about Trump pardoning a bunch of people. By the way, also vetoed the NDAA, which actually is pretty ballsy. Is it going to have any effect on 230? No, and actually that's a good thing. But, finally we've got a president who vetoed continuing authorization to bomb everyone else in the world. So Trump's got balls, and first time we've had a president like that in a long time. By the way, before we get into the video, again, I hate to say this every single day, but I am shadow banned on YouTube. Some people are saying they're randomly unsubscribed to me, they're not being notified of any uploads, sometimes for weeks at a time. Therefore, if you can share the link to this video out, I appreciate it. Or, there are 4 links in the description, as well as to, in the pinned comment, to other sites where I upload. Dailymotion, Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute. Sorry, I was being distracted there for a moment. I don't know if you noticed the fuzzy being there. It's still whipping around frenetically. Trump has pardoned a shit ton of people in the last few days, including Papadopoulos, and Roger Stone, and Paul Manafort, and that one was more up in the air because the charges were actually legit, as opposed to, like, Papadopoulos. I'll go through these. Papadopoulos was found guilty of lying to the FBI. He got 2 weeks in jail. It was a slap on the wrist sort of situation. It's not a felony. It's not a major charge or anything like that. The reason why I support these pardons, and that includes in the case of Manafort, again, the more up-in-the-air one, is that all of these convictions are prefaced on an investigation that never should have occurred to begin with. That is, that the Russiagate investigation into Trump was never legal. The investigation itself, which began before Crossfire Hurricane apparently, violating his Fourth Amendment rights potentially in the process, was prefaced on a fake dossier that was compiled by Hillary Clinton's people. It was fed through British intel into the FBI. The FBI sent it to FISA, and the final go-ahead was given by Rosenstein, who swore in front of Congress under oath, under penalty of perjury, that he couldn't even recall whether he read it before he signed it. The screwiness and the breach of proper protocol involved with the investigation makes the investigation itself illegal. Therefore, any evidence gained during its scope should not be admissible. We've seen cases of this. By the way, the liberals that are screeching right now, oh my God, Trump is pardoning the swamp. Trump is pardoning the people close to him. Number one, are you surprised? Every president for a long time has done that. And number two, again, if this were a situation where a person were dealing a little crack, and basically most of these charges are very minor anyway, and the only reason why the police came to the knowledge they were dealing crack is because they ignored proper protocol, kicked down the person's door at 4 a.m. without a search warrant, you'd scream bloody murder about improper use of police power. You'd scream bloody murder about due process. These people were not given their ability to defend themselves because they were tossed into jail on charges that are meaningless. Completely and utterly fucking meaningless because it was improperly gained material in the first place. Manafort laundered money. Millions of dollars. It was back in the mid-2000s, so it has nothing to do with Trump or anything like that. And the idea that Trump's pardoning him to keep him silent or to help an ally, dude, the charges were age-old when Paul Manafort was initially charged in the first place. And he served, I think, half his sentence anyway, so he's an old dude. Let him fucking go. The charges were significant. Money laundering. To felony degrees. And we're not talking, oh, he laundered a couple $1,000s. We're talking about millions of dollars. But they never should have been able to find out that he had committed that crime, nor had they investigated in the 10 years before that they had to investigate it, because the investigation never should have been greenlit in the first place. This is why we need to get rid of the FISA system. A FISA court is basically a rubber stamping process by which intel agencies can violate people's Fourth Amendment rights with or without any proper evidence. This is essentially an olive branch to U.S. intel that's given by the executive and legislative branches of government as a legal workaround by saying, well, this court's duly instituted and can grant warrants. A person can't challenge them. Because of the classified nature of the ongoing proceedings, they can't always defend themselves ably. They can't know necessarily the evidence against them. It violates the Constitution of the United States at multiple levels. The rights of the accused, the right to privacy, the right to cross-examine in every possible sense, and never should have happened. However, I am very much in favor of these pardons. Roger Stone's not a criminal. The idea that he's some horrible person is wrong. And also, I think he had been commuted anyway prior, and this is just a separate act. Manafort laundered some money. He's an old dude. He's going to be dead within 5 years probably anyway. Fucking let him out. He served his time. That's what Trump is basically saying. Papadopoulos, 2 weeks in jail. Nobody cares. And you can't lie to the FBI unless you're questioned by the FBI. If you're only being questioned by them pertinent to an investigation that itself is illegal, it doesn't matter if you lie to the FBI. You shouldn't be charged with it because the investigation shouldn't happen. I hope Trump goes much further, though. This is sort of his inner circle. Roger Stone, longtime friend, longtime ally. It's like if you were pardoning, Giuliani gets charged with jaywalking and he issues a pardon. I want him to pardon people that are not in his inner circle. I want Edward Snowden to be pardoned. I want him to be able to come back to the United States. And Trump has turned on the GOP anyway. You can look, the GOP will be breathing legally down his neck trying to stop him if he tries to pardon Edward Snowden. Julian Assange comes to mind. I realize that he's also facing, I think, some sort of bullshit charges in the UK. But if the US is no longer able to put diplomatic pressure on them, he might get out. He might actually be able to see the sun again and step on the grass. Considering he's done literally nothing wrong in the scope of his career, and he's been defamed and headhunted after consistently, I would say it's time to let the old man go. Isn't he in his mid-60s or something? He's not in great health. I would say Martin Shkreli. Martin Shkreli was, this is what really sucks. The only reason why he was even in the news was because he jacked the price up on, I can't remember which pill it was at the time. He jacked the price up and was basically, trying to screw people, getting a lot of money in the process. He's not in jail for that, though. The reason why a lot of people disliked him isn't why he's there. It was because of some the trading fraud that he was doing. It doesn't make sense. And also, again, an excessive sentence, 7 years in prison, plus restitution. If the restitution is paid, that means that, it's sort of like a no harm, no foul situation because the money's been returned. Why should he have to spend another, I think, 4 years in prison? Is it no point? He's in a low security federal institution anyway, so he's basically just in a dorm room leeching taxpayer money. He's probably finding that quite amusing. Hell, the dude probably has an internet connection in there. Fucking let him go. He's worth $23 million. I think he'll be able to retire to a ranch or something like that, especially after his multi-million-dollar inevitable book deal, which he'll be doing whether we keep him in prison for another few years anyway. What about Joe Exotic? This is one that I'm going to throw out here, not because I have any feelings about the Tiger bullshit that briefly roasted the whole fucking goddamn world like the ultimate goddamn meme. I don't care about that. Yeah, he tried to hire a hitman. Unsuccessfully, I believe, of course. Just do it for the attention. Literally do it just because it would be Trump. It would be 100% him to actually do that. And if he does, he'll be considered legendary by a lot of people who are part of that sort of millennial meme culture. One thing I would say, Kim.com shouldn't be pardoned. Initially, I said he probably should. He's fighting extradition to the U.S. for having a file-sharing website. Really, there are a dozen other file-sharing websites that have stuff that violates copyright. I'm sure there's other illicit material on there. They're not getting charged. You notice how none of them are facing extradition to the United States on felony charges. I supported Kim.com, but you know what? He came out the other day and said, whoa, I don't... What was it? I can't remember who got pardoned, and he has a big problem with it. I think it was Papadopoulos. And it's like, well, now his pardon has been dirtied. I wouldn't accept it even if he offered it. Now, that's your way of saying you don't expect to get a pardon and grandstand, because you don't figure you'll get extradited, so you're just going to shitpost on Twitter in order to get more clout. What a pathetic windbag he is. So, yeah, he shouldn't be pardoned. But Snowden should. Manning should be as well. Definitely Shkreli. You might as well pardon Joe Exotic. I mean, if Paul Manafort, who actually committed a crime, not like Snowden. Snowden was a whistleblower. Julian Assange published material from other whistleblowers. Martin Shkreli essentially was only investigated in the first place because he got too well known and he became problematic for the public, and the government didn't like what was going on. Oh my god, we got this person jacking up prices, but we can't go after him legally because what he's doing is legal because he owns the drug patent. Oh, I know, we'll just look into every other aspect of his life. Again, keep this in mind. Everyone has committed crimes. Most of you out there have committed felonies, probably without even goddamn knowing it. Show me the person, I'll show you the crime if you give me enough actual resources to do it. This is how the government through differential enforcement, by the way, discriminates against people regularly for their political views. Happens online too, doesn't it? One person gets banned for saying basically the same thing as the other person. The other person, though, happens to be of the right race or religion or something, so they don't gun for them. That's how Silicon Valley operates, the same bullshit. Yeah, all these people should be pardoned. I support pardoning. Basically, he should pardon every federal prisoner. And keep in mind, he can't, like, pardon Rittenhouse or something, because that's state charges. The president can't do that. Only a governor can. He should pardon every federal criminal who's not in there for significant charges. And that's basically all of them. Most of it's like, you laundered a bit of money 10 years ago. And it's always excessive sentences, too. These federal institutions are extremely expensive to maintain because it's not like a normal prison where you can cram people in 4 to a room, like all the California prisons. These places, by default, are cushy compared to state prisons, or certainly your local county jail, regardless of whether it's a supermax or the local 3-cell facility, that costs relatively less. The federal government has considerably higher standards of prisoner treatment simply by design because it's federal. And of course then can bilk taxpayers and build new facilities. Oh, well, our prisoners aren't getting enough exercise. We need a hockey rink built on the side of the facility. They can be cushy. And again, like Shkreli and stuff, they're in low intensity security, low security facilities. It's not like bars on the windows and shit. They're confined. But basically it's like, well, I don't think you're going to wander off because you're well known and you're not violent, so you're probably not going to shank somebody. So we just basically like a dorm room. That's where he's living. And the taxpayers had to fund that shit. I don't think we should fund any of it. We should close half of those facilities, not necessary anyway. The federal government should fucking take the next 2 to 4 years off and do goddamn nothing. So I just hope Trump goes further. That's about all. Peace out.